Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber, and this is your AMAC podcast, Better for America. Before watching, be sure to like and subscribe to our Rumble channel to help AMAC fight back and defeat censorship. Now, it's now clear that government agencies are involved in partisan politics. No former president has been indicted, let alone 4 times. Yet, Joe Biden's DOJ continues to target its main political rivals, that is President Donald J. Trump. Joining us today, I'm thrilled to talk about these many layers of persecution against our former president. We've got with us Donald Trump's attorney, Alina Habba. Alina, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm a pleasure to be on.
You know, these are truly unbelievable times that we're living in. We saw like a Soviet-style theater of police state tactics from Georgia, which follows a federal FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and arraignments against Donald Trump in New York, Miami, and D.C. The president, along with 18 other Americans, have been indicted for taking actions that are protected by the Constitution. As an example, John Eastman, he was just indicted in Georgia for his role in combating election fraud, despite his efforts being constitutionally protected. So essentially, it seems the Biden administration is now criminalizing actions that are protected by the Constitution. Please tell us what you make of all of this.
I think I've spoken to this ad nauseum. I think that most of America is realizing that we have a dual system of justice at the moment, where you're treated one way if you are a Republican and another if you're a Democrat. And more importantly, if you're a Republican and your name is Trump, you are treated in the most unfair manner. And we've seen that through Hunter Biden's plea deal that fell through, that they tried to push through. We've seen that with the targeting and systematic scheduling of trials during the campaign with the leading candidate for the Republican Party. So I think that the proof is in the pudding really here, right? They're kind of laying it out for us, and it's hard to ignore at this point. As you've mentioned, we're on indictment number 4. I'm really at a loss of words at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and our members are really fed up. They cannot believe that President Trump has been indicted for his role on January 6th. He was already acquitted by the U.S. Senate. It seems to violate our Fifth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment regarding double jeopardy. So from your view, and our members are asking this question, how is this case even allowed to proceed?
Well, what they're doing is trying to bring it in a state court criminally. Double jeopardy is a tricky thing. Double jeopardy would have to be the same type of crime twice. What they're doing is, it's the same reason you see sometimes a person that's hurt somebody get tried both criminally from prosecutors, and then there's a civil liability element to it. What they did was the reverse. When he was civilly, they bring impeachment, Russia hoax, impeachment actions. They try every venue they can, and now the desperation has become so high that what we're doing is criminalizing free speech, criminalizing the obligation of the president to make sure that we have fair elections, and who has the right and frankly the obligation to make sure that that's the case in this country. So what they've done is change the venue. We have now federal venue criminal prosecutions, state venue criminal prosecutions. I believe that that's all by design. As we know, the president, if President Trump is elected again, can pardon himself from federal crimes, not state. So I think what they're doing is a strategic, coordinated dance, for lack of a better word. And that is how they are accomplishing bringing these old types of issues that he brought civilly, correctly, that he wanted to bring through lawyers. And now they're bringing it as a criminal action. Yeah, so that's how they're doing it.
And speaking of coordination, everyone notices that each Trump indictment is being announced just one day after a new Biden scandal is revealed. And then you can take Georgia's Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis seeking a trial date of March 4th. That's the day before the presidential primaries on Super Tuesday. And this was announced shortly after the indictment leaked before the grand jury was even convened. So, where does a prosecutorial overreach become malicious prosecution?
Oh, I think we're past that point. I think we were
Mm.
past that point when he was president still. I mean, in my opinion, when I've been practicing in a state that, I've practiced for many years, and you have defendants and plaintiffs that are waiting to hear their cases for years. But President Trump is now being fast tracked on all his cases. And they're basically all being heard from October till the summer, effectively, which is prime campaign season. And each of these trials are going to take 4 to 6 weeks, let's call it. Speaking generally here, but at that point, you have tied up a presidential candidate for the better of 6 months. And we're only talking not only his criminal cases, but their civil cases as well. And it's by design, as I said. It's unfair. It is malicious. It's beyond anything I've ever seen. And I think the American people are really besides themselves. It's frankly helping his voters recognize it and changing independence. If you look at what's happening, just as a country, we've seen, and I'm not a campaign person, but as an American who votes, we've seen people that have come up to me, have come up to numerous co-workers of mine and said, I used to think, I didn't like his tweets, or I didn't like this or that. And now I'm behind him 100%, because if that's the worst thing that this guy has done, but they're bringing actions against him. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's out there with, God knows what, prostitutes, drugs, funneling money, we now have learned, through to the current president. And there's no action being taken. We are in serious trouble with a double standard here.
Yeah, and these federal indictments, it almost, Americans are saying this looks like and smells like election interference. Trump is the leading candidate, and I think that this is so ironic. They seem to be participating in election interference and then accusing Donald Trump of doing this. The Supreme Court, AMAC members have a question here. They want to know, is it possible that the Trump team can go directly to the Supreme Court to immediately dismiss the case or have them stayed so that the election can go on? Can you explain a possible Supreme Court involvement?
Yeah,
Unfolding?
I can't really go into details on what our strategy is. That would be unethical for me to do. What I can tell you is, do I think that some of these issues will end up in front of the Supreme Court? Absolutely. There are processes and procedures for each venue that we have to follow. Like I said, we have both state and federal venue. So in order to get there, we have to make sure we remove cases that need to be removed into federal court, that we request appeals or decisions that are appropriate. We can't just do things willy-nilly. We have to have cause. And we have a great team on the ground with all of these cases, and several teams, frankly, that I work with, that I'm fortunate to work with every day. And they know what to do. They know what they're doing. And my only thing to the American people would say, don't worry. We have very intelligent people working for the president on behalf of the president. They are well-seasoned attorneys. They have had many successes on very challenging cases. And to me, these cases are frankly bogus. They are not based in any concrete elements of fact that we will have an issue with. So I'm not concerned. I know there's a lot of noise, but we have the right team on the ground and we have the facts on our side, and we'll fight accordingly.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate your time here. One final question before we let you run. President Trump has mentioned many times that these charges really have been sat on, that nothing has happened. And here we are now 2 years since he's left office. And this is just, the timing here seems very, causes one to sit back and scratch their head.
Yeah.
Seems that it's deliberate, certainly. Do you expect that all of these indictments could be resolved before the 2024 election?
If they have it their way, and if we don't have the proper amount of time to go through discovery and items that the attorneys really need. I mean, these are not easy cases in terms of paperwork and amount of things that we have to look at on evidence and testimony. Like you said, they've had these for years. Why did they bring it now? And all of a sudden now they want to rush it. Well, there's a very simple answer: the 2024 election, right? But we need to again, go through the protocols and the things in place with the legal standards, laws, statutes, and apply them to each case individually and fight them accordingly. But we're doing what we need to do. And oftentimes most American people try and give me tips and heads up. And all I can tell you is I love it. I love that everyone is concerned and we're working with you and for you. We hear what you guys are saying. We're not going to leave a stone unturned for the president.
And that's exactly what AMAC members love to hear. They voted Donald J. Trump as their man of the year 2 times over. And we are just so grateful that we have a former president with the courage to stand up and the ability to fight, because he's doing so on behalf of all Americans. We thank you so much, Alina Habba, for your efforts, for your courage, and for spending time with us here today on AMAC's Better for America. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America. The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.